How you doing there, folks? Happy International Men's Day. Newstatemen put out an article by Mark Brown on International Men's Day. In it, he talks about MRAs and the Red Pill documentary. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm this guy here. A lot of people know who this woman is. She's Chanty Banks. Here's the Red Pill documentary. If you don't know who that is, let me say, get out and see it. Spread around to urge other people to see it as well. Full disclosure here, I am in the documentary. I've met and interacted with Cassie J, and I believe it was her husband, anyway, or her film crew. I found them to be genuine people, and they acted at all times with integrity. I wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Anyways, let's get on with the little interaction with Mark here. So here's Mark bragging about things on Twitter, about his article. And if you don't know who Mark is, he is a writes for money. All right, so he's a professional feminist who writes for money. And here's him bragging about his article on Twitter. And I confront him on it. I call him out on it, all right? Feminist claims about men's rights activists, MRAs versus reality. Here he is stating that, MRAs uphold rigid gender roles, and, here's my male suicide awareness, one of my male suicide awareness stickers from this year's walk, where I'm saying, man up can cause a man down, and 8 men a day are killing themselves across Canada. I point out to Mark that it's lies like his from professional feminist writers that makes my job all that much more difficult and helps keep that male suicide situation so bad. Instead of answering my question, Mark, throws back another question. I don't let him get away with it, and I re-ask the question again. Mark plays dumb here, and so I lay it out to him so he can't really play dumb anymore. And then I point out the irony of the situation that, here I am, an MRA criticizing him, a male feminist. And then finally the light bulb goes off in his head. Then I point out to him that, across 4 different countries, we have a deficit, or we have the situation of the completed male suicides being around 3/4 to 4/5 of all suicides, and we have a deficit of the government's paying attention to male suicides, and I'm hinting that the reason is because feminism for the last 40 or so years has demanded that the governments pay attention to women's mental health. And as a matter of fact, to add to my claim there, Mark, here is an interesting little graph. You can see that there's a huge jump in that suicide gap that occurs right around the time of patriarchy theory and feminism, second wave feminism. But back to our little exchange there, Mark. And we get into, he tries to play stupid again, and he tries to knock down my argument, and we go back and forth a couple times. And then finally he asked me to answer his question, and I have to ask him another question because it's un-PC to misgender people, So as a matter of fact, I would urge people to check out the Professor Jordan Peterson situation at the University of Toronto. It could actually be illegal in the future for me to misgender a person. I don't know what to do with the social justice warrior crowds. To me, they all seem like zeros. All right, get out there and check out the that situation that Professor Jordan Peterson is in right now. So we go through that, and he still thinks I'm wrong. And at the end of it, I invite Mark to a Google Hangout. So Mark, here's my invite to a Google Hangout, friendly chat. We're both interested in mental health situation. You're on one side, you're a feminist. I'm I'm an MRA, and I'm fairly well known, as you can see here. Now, Mark, something else I'd like to point out, to corroborate and bolster my position, buttress my position, is that in 1995, this men's mental health situation was pointed out to the government of Canada, and feminism still has been demanding pay more attention to women's mental health. All right. Now, Mark, I'm also interested in domestic violence situation here. Here we're going to go through about 15 years worth of domestic violence studies done by the government of Canada, Statistics Canada. These are the same government statistics that the feminists use to get money out of the government in Canada here. I'm going to point out one other thing there, Mark. I've included one CDC slide here, okay, Mark? So this is the first one here. It's from 2005, General Social Survey. It's done for every 5 years, and it found 7% of women and 6% of men. In 2009, it was 6.4% of women and 6% of men. The 2001 CDC slide finds that most of the single way, one way domestic violence, 70% of it is perpetrated by women. And Mark, in 2014, all right, this is the third cycle that I'm pointing to in the General Social Survey, Statistics Canada here. They found that 418,000 men reported domestic abuse and 342,000 women. I'm going to also point out, Mark, that it was there's a 16% difference in who's reporting the most severe forms of domestic violence. Okay, Mark, and that is we're going to talk a little bit more about that because here, Mark, you can see just why I kind of really dislike professional feminists. You can see right here, Mark, that the reason that it's actually worth $142 million in transfer payments out to the shelter industry in Canada here. And the Auditor General of Ontario found that there was no really criteria or to the needs, no criteria or performance-based criteria for this money being handed out. And as a matter of fact, the rate for a bed per night is $575, okay, per person. I have to ask the question, what are they doing, Mark? Sending them off to the casino, all expenses paid? Because at $575 a night, I'm thinking that person needs to be in a hospital with that much, care if they are that abused. I'm going to point out one other slide here, Mark, and this is, the police reports here, major assault levels 2 and 3 for that General Social Survey. You see that there's only like 1,000 person difference, okay, Mark? And yet, we don't have any shelters for men in Canada. We have lots. We have about 600 of them across Canada, about 200 of them in Ontario alone, but nothing for men, Mark. It's kind of a deplorable situation. So we can talk about that situation as well. And here we have Status of Women Canada paper and a fact sheet where they inflate the numbers. Okay, these are feminist organizations inflating the abused women's numbers to extract more money out of the government of Canada. Here's a professional organization, a professional feminist shelter abuse industry organization. Now, Mark, I'm going to point out something really interesting about this here. They erased male domestic violence victims, and they claimed them as female domestic violence victims. Now, an advisor and the editor on this paper, or one of the editors on this paper, her name is Professor Holly Johnson. She's an advisor to the UN, United Nations, on violence against women. Isn't that an interesting fact? Really interesting fact. Odd coincidence we're uncovering here, Mark, wouldn't you say, about feminism? Now, not only did they do that once, but they did it twice. Okay, Mark? 2 different times. They revised the paper after I pointed out there the first time. They did it again, and they still did the same fucking deplorable thing. Erased male victims, claimed there were female victims. Now, Mark, perhaps you're aware of a little situation going on over here in Canada, missing and murdered Indigenous women. Well, I went through the feminist papers and the feminist originating paper there in 2009. It found what it didn't state and what it kind of hid was that 2/3 of the total missing and murdered Indigenous population, those 2/3, they're men, Mark. Okay, again, feminist run organizations. Here they are hiding male victims, okay, ignoring them. Lastly here, Mark, I believe in our exchange, I talked about the reduction of due process and the rule of law. Well, here I am at the Ghomeshi trial, And the first one, the verdict there, and I kind of go through how the "we believe" mentality leads to like lynch mob justice, and strange fruit hanging from the trees. Mark, you are a journalist. You get paid to do a job. Do your fucking job and tell the fucking facts. Stop spinning narrative for profit, you goddamn professional feminist. This is Danny Boy, folks. If you like the work I do, like, share, and subscribe. Happy International Men's Day.